Have you ever wondered why some people stay driven even when no one is watching? Why some keep waking up at 5 a.m. to run? Why some write in their journals every night? Why some keep working after they've failed again and again? It's not hype, it's not caffeine, it's not a new playlist or a YouTube reel. It's something quieter, deeper, harder to fake. Jim Rohn, mentor to millions, once said, "The ultimate reason for setting goals is to entice you to become the person it takes to achieve them." That line might sound simple, but it holds the real secret to lasting motivation. Most people think motivation is about energy, but Jim Rohn saw it differently. He taught us, motivation isn't about what you feel, it's about who you decide to become. And that shift changes everything. Because when your motivation comes from a sense of identity, when it's tied to who you are becoming, not just what you want, it doesn't fade when the mood fades. It becomes your default, your compass, your quiet engine. You no longer need others to cheer you on, you cheer yourself on, because the path itself is the reward. And here's the key, lasting motivation is not found in intensity, but in identity. You can push yourself hard for a week, but who do you see yourself as when no one's watching? That is the hidden source. So today, we're not just going to talk about motivation, we're going to unearth it. We'll explore why it fades for most people, and how Jim Rohn built a life of unshakable purpose, not from external rewards, but from internal responsibility. Because the truth is, you don't need more hype, you need more alignment. So if you're ready to stop starting over, if you're tired of waiting for the right mood to take action, if you want to build the kind of motivation that lasts through failure, fatigue, and fear, then this conversation is for you. Let's begin the journey to the inner source, to the voice within, to the Jim Rohn mindset. The one that whispers, not shouts, it starts with you. And today, it starts now. The problem, why motivation fades so easily. Let's be honest, most people don't struggle with starting. They struggle with continuing. Have you ever had that surge of inspiration? You heard a speech, read a quote, watched a video. Suddenly, you felt unstoppable. You made a list, you set goals, you told yourself, this time, I'll follow through. And for a few days, you did. But then, life got busy, stress crept in, the excitement faded, and the old habits, they came right back. You're not lazy, you're not broken, you're not weak, you're just human. And you're caught in a system that was never built to sustain your motivation. Jim Rohn once said, motivation is what gets you started, habit is what keeps you going. That single quote holds a deep truth. Motivation is a spark, but what happens when the spark fades? Here's the truth most people never hear. Your motivation doesn't disappear because you're weak. It disappears because your system is weak. Let's break that down. 1. People wait for inspiration. Instead of creating structure, we're trained to chase feelings, to act when we feel good, to create when we feel inspired. But feelings are like weather. They change. One day you're full of energy. The next, you just want to stay in bed. If your motivation depends on mood, your growth becomes random. Jim Rohn understood this. That's why he built rituals. He didn't wait to feel ready. He scheduled growth, reading, journaling, planning, every single day. Discipline created the space for motivation to show up. Because here's the truth. If you're always waiting to feel like it, you'll wait forever. 2. People blame circumstances instead of owning their choices. I'm too busy. I don't have support. Life's too chaotic right now. Sound familiar? Jim Rohn was clear. You cannot hire someone to do your push-ups for you. He wasn't being harsh. He was being honest. Because as long as you give your power to circumstances, you lose the ability to change. Circumstances will always be imperfect. There will always be deadlines, drama, distractions. The key is not controlling life. It's owning your response to it. If you wait for the perfect moment, you'll still be waiting next year. But when you take ownership, everything shifts. You stop being a victim. You start being a creator. That's not just motivation, that's transformation. 3. People set goals, but not systems. Let me ask you something. Have you ever set a big goal, but didn't know what to do next? You had a vision, a dream, but no system. So you got overwhelmed. You procrastinated. You gave up, not because you didn't care, but because you didn't know how to proceed. Jim Rohn knew this. He taught that goals give direction, but systems create motion. It's not about doing everything at once. It's about doing the right things consistently. If you want lasting motivation, stop asking, "What's my goal?" Start asking, "What's my rhythm?" Because rhythm builds momentum, and momentum builds belief, and belief builds motivation. 4. People expect progress to be linear. You start something new. Week 1, you're excited. Week 2, you hit a dip. Week 3, you question everything. Sound familiar? Most people quit, not because they're incapable, but because they expected growth to be a straight line. Jim Rohn would remind you, don't join an easy crowd, you won't grow. Growth is messy, progress is uneven. There will be setbacks, slow days, relapses. But the dip is not the end. It's the sign you're leveling up. If you expect it, you can endure it. If you endure it, you'll evolve. 5. People consume too much, but create too little. We live in an age of input overload. Podcasts, quotes, reels, motivational speeches. We listen, we scroll, we absorb, but we don't apply. Jim Rohn was different. He consumed with purpose and created with discipline. He didn't just learn, he taught. He didn't just write quotes, he lived them. Because here's the hidden trap. Consuming content feels productive, but real transformation comes from reflection and creation. You don't become more motivated by watching others move. You become more motivated by moving, even 1 inch, yourself. So ask yourself, are you inspired or just entertained? Final truth, motivation doesn't fade, it shifts. It shifts from emotion to identity, from hype to habit, from feeling good to doing what matters. That's what Jim Rohn discovered, and that's what we'll explore in this journey together. Because you don't need more willpower, you need more structure. You don't need another video, you need a new philosophy. And that philosophy begins with this. The ultimate reason for setting goals is to entice you to become the person it takes to achieve them. Let that sink in, because that's not just a quote, it's the foundation of lasting motivation. Core philosophies from Jim Rohn. So far, we've uncovered the hidden problem behind fading motivation. Now let's go deeper. Because Jim Rohn didn't just identify the problem, he lived the solution. He gave us a blueprint, a system of simple, powerful truths that, if applied, can build motivation that lasts a lifetime. Let's explore 5 of those core philosophies. Each one is a pillar. Each one is a mindset shift. Each one invites you not to push harder, but to think deeper. 1. Personal responsibility. You must take personal responsibility. You cannot change the circumstances, the seasons, or the wind, but you can change yourself. This was Jim's foundational belief. Motivation begins when blame ends. Because as long as you point outward, you stay powerless. But the moment you look inward, you unlock possibility. Let me be clear, taking responsibility doesn't mean blaming yourself. It means claiming your power. Life will send you storms. You can't control the wind, but you can set the sails. Think about it. 2 people, same situation. One grows, one gives up. The difference, not luck, not talent, ownership. Responsibility turns victims into leaders, into creators, into people who no longer wait for life to get better, but decide to get better themselves. Jim Rohn didn't start as a millionaire. He was broke, lost, frustrated. Until one day, he heard a mentor say, "For things to change, you have to change." That line hit him, and maybe it hits you too. Not because it's easy, but because it's true. 2. Self-improvement. Work harder on yourself than you do on your job. At first, that sounds backwards. Shouldn't we work hard on our careers, our goals, our relationships? Jim's answer was simple. When you grow, everything you touch grows. You can't outperform your own mindset. You can't build a better life with the same thinking that built your old one. So Jim made personal growth non-negotiable. Reading daily, writing reflections, listening to thinkers, journaling insights. He didn't chase hype, he built habits. Because motivation fades when growth stops. But when you're evolving, you stay engaged, you stay curious, you stay driven. That's why one of his daily rituals was what he called the hour of power. 20 minutes reading, 20 minutes reflecting, 20 minutes moving. No matter how busy you are, you can always grow, and when you grow, motivation follows. 3. Clear goals and visualization. Goals. There's no telling what you can do when you get inspired by them. There's no telling what you can do when you believe in them. And there's no telling what will happen when you act upon them. Here's a simple truth. Vague effort creates vague results. Jim didn't just set goals. He saw them. He wrote them. He imagined how they felt. Because the clearer the target, the stronger the pull. Your brain is a GPS. It needs coordinates. When you visualize clearly, you direct your energy intentionally. Jim encouraged people to create dream books, to fill them with images of the life they wanted. Not as fantasy, but as focus. So what are your coordinates? What does your future look like? Clearly, vividly, emotionally. If you don't define it, you drift. But when you define it, you're drawn to it. 4. Positive mindset. Learn how to turn frustration into fascination. You will learn more being fascinated by life than being frustrated by it. That quote changed how I see struggle, because frustration is common, but fascination, that's a choice. Jim believed in emotional agility, not suppressing feelings, but shifting them. When something went wrong, he'd ask, "Isn't that interesting?" It sounds simple, but it's powerful. That shift turns you from reactive to reflective, from powerless to curious. Frustration shuts doors, fascination opens them. So the next time you're upset, try it. Say, "Isn't that interesting?" Notice what opens up inside you. That's not just positivity, that's power. 5. Embracing action. Motivation alone is not enough. If you have an idiot and you motivate him, now you have a motivated idiot. Classic Jim. Funny but true. Because ideas without action are empty, and action without wisdom is dangerous. Jim taught that real motivation grows through motion, not hype, not shouting, just simple, consistent doing. One step, one call, one rep, one page. Action refines you, it teaches you, it strengthens you. You can't think your way into confidence. You earn it by doing. That's why Jim loved the phrase, "Don't let what you can't do interfere with what you can do." You don't have to do everything today, but you can do something, and that something builds the next. Summary: the 5 pillars of lasting motivation. So let's take a breath and remember. 1. Personal responsibility, it starts with you. 2. Self-improvement, grow yourself to grow your life. 3. Clear goals, set them, see them, be pulled by them. 4. Positive mindset, turn frustration into fascination. 5. Action, move, learn, refine, repeat. These are not tricks, they are truths, lived, proven, repeatable. If you adopt them, not all at once, but one by one, you won't just feel more motivated. You'll become someone who doesn't need motivation to act, because it won't be something you wait for, it'll be something you live from. And as Jim Rohn said, success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day. That is how you build a life. That is how you build motivation that lasts. And that begins today. Action Guide: 3 practices to build lasting drive. Let's pause for a moment. We've journeyed through why motivation fades. We've uncovered Jim Rohn's timeless philosophies. But now, it's time to act. Jim always believed philosophy without practice is just noise. So let's bring the mindset into motion. These are 3 practices, simple, powerful, and repeatable. Each one is designed to shift you from intention to discipline, from wanting to becoming. Practice 1. Ownership inventory. Every morning before the world rushes in, ask yourself one question. What am I responsible for today? Write down just one thing, just one. This isn't about your to-do list, it's about your to-be list. What kind of person are you committed to being? What attitude will you carry? What choice will you own, fully, honestly, without excuse? Jim Rohn said, "You cannot change the circumstances, but you can change yourself." This practice is how you begin. It can be as simple as, I take full responsibility for my energy today. I choose to respond calmly to pressure. I own my focus for the next 3 hours. The power is in the repetition, because daily ownership becomes identity, and identity fuels motivation. So start small. Use a notebook, a sticky note, a reminder on your lock screen, just one line, every day. That's how leaders are made. That's how inner drive is built. Through quiet acts of responsibility, consistently chosen, intentionally lived. Practice 2, the hour of power, Jim Rohn's favorite discipline. He called it the hour of power, a daily ritual to feed the mind, move the body, and awaken the soul. Break it into 3 parts, 20 minutes, learn, read a book, watch a seminar, listen to a thinker, fuel your mind with ideas that elevate you. 20 minutes, reflect, journal, meditate, ask, what did I learn yesterday? Where can I grow today? This builds clarity, and clarity ignites commitment. 20 minutes, move, walk, stretch, breathe deeply, shake off inertia. Because physical motion unlocks mental momentum. This isn't about perfection, it's about presence. Even if you only have 30 minutes, do 10 minutes of each. Even if you only have 15, do 5. Just begin. Because discipline is not built on duration, it's built on devotion. And when you give your first hour to growth, you reclaim your day from chaos. You begin your morning not reacting, but directing. Jim Rohn believed, success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day. And this hour is where those disciplines begin. Practice 3, micro actions, macro excuses. Most people wait for the perfect moment, the grand plan, the breakthrough. But motivation lives in movement, and movement lives in small steps. Jim Rohn said, don't let what you can't do interfere with what you can do. So each day, define one micro action, one small, meaningful step that moves your life forward. It could be sending that email, making that phone call, drinking water instead of soda, reading 5 pages, saying no to a distraction. The goal isn't to move the mountain, it's to move the next stone. Because when you move one stone every day, eventually the mountain moves too. Micro actions matter. They build proof, they build confidence, they build momentum. 1 step becomes 2, 2 become 4, and before you know it, you're in motion. So each morning ask, what small action can I take today, no matter how I feel? And then take it, even if it's messy, even if it's late, even if it's tiny, because the action you take is always more powerful than the excuse you make. Recap, 3 practices for inner drive. Let's bring it all together. Practice 1, ownership inventory, 1 line of responsibility, every morning. Practice 2, hour of power, learn, reflect, move, begin your day with purpose. Practice 3, micro actions, small steps taken daily become massive change. These aren't theories, they're tools, tested, lived, proven. Jim Rohn didn't build motivation by waiting for it, he built it by acting without it. And as he practiced these simple disciplines, he became the kind of person who no longer needed to be pushed. He was pulled by purpose. So I'll ask you, which of these 3 practices will you begin today? Don't aim for perfection, aim for repetition. Start with 1, repeat it tomorrow, build the muscle. Because motivation is not something you wait for, it's something you train for. And like Jim said, discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. So build your bridge, 1 step, 1 morning, 1 practice at a time. That is how you become unstoppable. Conclusion: The real secret. We've come to the end of this conversation, but for you, this might just be the beginning. Let's pause, let's reflect, let's bring everything home. Throughout this journey, we've asked deep questions. Why does motivation fade? What principles help it last? And how do you build a life driven by design, not default? Jim Rohn gave us answers, but not in the form of hype, not in the form of surface-level positivity. He gave us a path, a way of thinking, a new way of being. And at the heart of it all was this one truth: the major key to your better future is you. Not luck, not motivation, not a secret formula. You. Jim believed the real transformation doesn't happen on the stage. It happens in the quiet, in the choices no one sees, in the promises you keep to yourself. It happens when you decide, I will no longer wait for a better mood to live a better life. So let's make this practical. Let's anchor this message in something real. Here's what we've learned. Motivation fades when it's based on feeling, but it lasts when it's rooted in identity. You don't need more hype. You need more rhythm, more ownership, more small steps taken daily. We've talked about personal responsibility, self-improvement, clear goals, positive mindset, courageous action. We've explored daily practices, ownership inventory, the hour of power, micro actions. Now the question is, what will you do next? Not next month, not next Monday, not when it's easier, but now, because your future isn't waiting, it's responding to the choices you make today. So ask yourself, what would my day look like if I lived from purpose, not pressure? What would my decisions look like if I acted from identity, not impulse? Jim Rohn used to say, don't wish it were easier, wish you were better. That wish begins with action, with movement, with honesty, and with one powerful decision: to stop chasing motivation and start becoming the kind of person who no longer needs it to begin. You don't need to feel ready, you need to feel responsible. You don't need to wait, you need to remember. The ultimate reason for setting goals is to entice you to become the person it takes to achieve them. So who are you becoming? What habits are you practicing? What story are you writing, one decision at a time? Because motivation isn't magic. It's not about pumping yourself up. It's about structuring a life that keeps pulling you forward. Jim Rohn didn't promise ease, he promised results, if you were willing to do the work. And if you are, then every day becomes a vote for the future you want. A vote cast in action, in awareness, in identity. You don't need a louder voice, you need a deeper one. The kind that whispers, I don't need to be motivated, I just need to be me, fully, consistently, unapologetically. That is the real secret, not outside of you, inside. So today, leave with this. You are not the person you were when you started listening. You've been stretched, challenged, called forward. Now the path is yours to walk. Don't rush, don't force, just begin. One page, one practice, one powerful morning at a time. And maybe years from now, someone will ask you, what was the turning point for you? And you'll smile, you'll pause, and you'll say, there was a moment I stopped waiting to feel motivated, and I started becoming the person I was always meant to be. And that moment, that choice, begins now.